finally. Well, hey there kids, and welcome to the very special 200th episode of Weekend Wankshop. Here with your best buddy, Uncle Ben. Now, I figured for the momentous 200th episode of this series, I ought to do something really special for you weekend wankers and finally give you all something you've been asking for about 4 or 5 years now, ever since I uploaded my original cover of this solo here on my YouTube channel, and give you all a complete breakdown and lesson on how to play Marty Friedman's legendary Tornado of Souls solo. But before we get into the lesson, let's hear it again for the 200th time at stepdad speed. And as always, you guys can find a full tab for this week's lesson over on my Instagram page at Ben Eller Guitars. Type in the hashtag Weekend Wankshop 200 to find it. Learn this thing, then upload a video of yourself shredding through it along with the hashtag Weekend Wankshop. And give me a follow while you're over there too.
Thanks.
The solo is in the key of B minor, but as you'll see, it's not necessarily very B minor scale-ish. He really, as usual, is playing more around with arpeggio ideas and applying extended harmony on top of the power chords that he's playing over. To start off, we're going to hit the 3rd fret on the G here with a little rake into it. So just have some muted strings before you grab that 3rd G. Now, whenever you do that, what you're going to do is to do one of Marty's kind of signature tricks, which is to do a quick half-step bend, release it back to standard pitch, and then half-step bend it again. He does that a couple times in this solo too. Again, it's a quick halfer, then a slow halfer. After that, we're going to play the 4 on the G, also with a little rake. He hits the 6 on the G with a slight pinch harmonic. It's really hard to miss. It's not a full-on, squeal, but it sounds like he tagged a little bit of skin on that one. And then he gets here into the 7th fret on the G with a downward slide. Very hard to hear this, but if you listen to it, you'll hear the note being yanked down. So I go from about 9 to 7 on that G, then slide back up to 9. Next, what you're going to do is to hit that 9 and slide up to 11, hit the 11 and slide back to 9. So now this. Next, what you're going to do is to hit that 9 on the G and pull off to 7. Sometimes I see him do this as a slide, but either way. So 9 pulling to 7 on the G. And then what you're going to do is to hit the 6 on the G. Again, this is going to be one of those signature Marty-isms, not hitting the note he wants you to hear, but rather hitting the note a half step below it. And doing that, again, quick half step bend, slow half step bend to get you up to that E note. Just like that. Then this phrase. So this is the G here on 7 to 9, B on 10 then 7, back to G9, 7, 6, 7, skip up here to the 9th D, then go back to your G here and play 6, hammering on to 7, then back to a 6 on the G. Then this phrase. So what I'm doing here is I'm hitting that 6 on the G, hitting it again and hammering on to 7, back to 6. Gonna go to the D string here, 9 and 7, 9A, 7 then 9 on the D, and then the 9 on the A again. Here's the next phrase, which a lot of people kind of look at as being one of those mystical Hirajoshi scale things. Whatever. What you're going to do here is to play the A string 9, hammering to 10, D9, 11, slide to 12, G11, and then on the B string here, what you're going to do is to play 12, hammer on to 14, then back to 12. So that last phrase is... And then play this. So this is me playing the B on 14, pulling to 12, then hammering back onto 14. Next, play the B13 and do a whole step bend. Pick it again while you're holding the bend and let it down, and pull off to 12. Now it's important to notice that he kind of does the pull off as the bend is on its way down. So in other words, you never hear that bend bottom out and then a pull off. That C note sounds way out of key if you do it that way. So be sure to do the pull off as the bend is near the bottom. Then what you're going to do is to hit that 13B again and give it 2 half step bends. After this we have this phrase. So this is the B12, B12 again, hammer to 14. Then you're going to play the G12. And there's like a little twitch half step bend right there before he hits it 2 times. It's not really pronounced. It almost sounds like maybe he thought about doing vibrato and then ditched or something. Then we have this phrase. And what you're doing right there is you're playing the 14 on the high E, pick it again and slide up a half step to 15, come back down to 14, 10, 14, and then you're going to do 10, a hammer on pull off with 14. So coming off of that, play 14B, 10 high E, 14B to 12B, 11 on the G, 9, 11, 9, slide down to 7. So let me recap all that. Then you're going to hit the 9 on the G and give it a whole step bend. And then you're going to play the 7 on the G, sliding to 6. It's a cool lick. This next phrase really shows off Marty's brilliant arpeggio use, because essentially he's just playing over a B power chord. So that's just root and fifth. But the arpeggio he's playing sounds like B minor add 9, which is like root, ninth, flat third, and fifth. Really cool way to make this sound like more than just a power chord. Make it sound like a lot more dramatic. Now what you're gonna do is you're gonna slide into the 14 high E, do the 10th high E with a hammer-on pull off to 14. 14th B, that's that 9th degree we were talking about. 12 on the B, 11 on the G. Then work your way back up. So 12 on the B, hammering to 14, 10th high E. Next, what you're gonna do is to play the 14 and slide up to 19. 14th high E again. Then on the B string here, we're gonna play 15, 14, and then on the G16, and then again, work your way back up. 14 on the B, hammering to 15, then 14 on the high E. So all your B minor 9 arpeggios sound like this. Next phrase. Now this kind of feels like a regular old E minor arpeggio, but it's being played over a G, which kind of makes it sound like a G major with a 6 in it, which is cool. It's actually a move you'd see way more like gypsy jazz players do than metal guys. A lot of Marty's stuff really reminds me more of like Django than it does like Randy Rhoads or somebody like that. So to play this lick, play the 19 on the high E, 15, then we're gonna go to the B here and play 17, G 16, then we're gonna play the D on 17. So, again, it feels like E minor. Work your way back up the arpeggio here, play 16 on the G, 17 on the B, 15 on the high E, and then that 19 on the high E. Notice how it gets a little bit more of a triplet feel towards the end of that lick. Triplet, like that. Play the 19 high E again and give it a 1.5 step bend. Let it down, pull off to the 18 on the high E, and then play the 19 again. It's a cool move. This next lick is a string skipping arpeggio, which sometimes people play a little bit differently, but here's what Marty does. So I'm playing the 19 here on the E, the 16, hammer on pull off with 19, 17B, 16G, slide down to 13 on the G, 14D, then on the G here you're gonna play the 13 hammering to 16, then go to the high E, 12, 16, pull off to 12. Go back to your G and play 16 pulling to 13. So it's play the 14 on the D again, back to that 13th G and slide down to 9. And then pick that note and give it some big old shake. Next lick is this kind of sliding gallop picky thing on the G string. Sometimes I see people, and Marty himself, just tremolo pick this live, but it sounds like on the record he's doing kind of a gallop thing. And he's holding his finger down on the string the entire time, so as you transfer from note to note here, be okay with it kind of having a little bit of slide sound in between the notes. That makes it sound more like it. So what you're going to do is to slide into the 11th fret G, 12, 15, 7, 9, and then 6. Like I said, really let that finger kind of transfer from note to note across that string. That'll sound more like Marty's. Next phrase is this guy, which is a less obvious B minor arpeggio, but it is. It's the minor third, root, and fifth of that B that he's playing over at that point. 7 on the G, 9D, 9A. Then you have this phrase, which I love. Play sliding into the 9th D, 7th G, 9th G, and then play the 8th G with a whole step bend. So again, bending that note, which is way out of scale, and bending it up a whole step means you're landing on that flat 5, that F right there, which is really cool. Let it down and play the 7 on the G with some big old vibrato. After that, you play this phrase. So that's just me playing that 9th D, 7th G, 2 of the 9th Ds, 7th G, back to 9D, 9G, 7th G. Then on the D string here, you're gonna play 9 and 7, and then the 9 again with a whole step bend, just up and down. 7th D, and then slide from about 9th A down to 7th A. Before we get into the kind of sliding arpeggio section that follows this. Now again, if you really want to get the most out of this lesson, be thinking about what power chord he's playing over and what this arpeggio means to it, you know? What this sounds like is he's making this F sharp power chord kind of sound like F sharp 7 with a flat 9 in it, which is a really popular gypsy sound to use over dominant chords. So basically, check this out. You're playing the 9th A, that's your root. You're playing the 8th D, that's your major 3rd. Then you're hammering on the 11th D, which would be your 5th of that arpeggio. So far it's just major, root 3rd, 5th. Then play the 9 on the G, that's the flat 7, which is what makes it sound like a dominant 7 arpeggio. And then what you're going to do is to play the 8 on the B string. Now again, if F sharp is your root, you're playing the flattened 9th. But like I said, everything up to this so far has just sounded like a good old fun dominant chord. And then shit gets real when he hits that flat 9, which is so cool. Play the 11 on the B, slide up to 14, pull off to 11. Then you gotta play the G12, that's that flat 9 interval again, hence is why it sounds so mean. And then on the D string here, we're gonna play 14, 12, pull off to 11. And then over the A, he plays this. And that's close enough. I'm playing the A12, the D11, hammer on to 14. Then you're gonna play the B on 10, again string skipping here. Play the 14 on the B string. Slide up to 19. This is a weird choice. That'd be the 6 of that A chord right there too. You love the sound of that 6. Slide back down to 14. Pull off to 12, play the 12 on the G, and then play 10, hammer on to 14, pull off to 10 on the B. And then we get into the big stretchy arpeggio section, which is a total hassle to play, and I think is actually harder to play slow than it is fast because those stretches are brutal. It's going from like 10 to 17 at some points in this. Now I'll give you guys a tip about picking these things, because initially whenever I learned this, 4 or 5 years ago, I absolutely couldn't keep up with the picking. Now how you're going to do this is to start off with the 14th high E string with an upstroke pulling off to 10. Play your 12th fret B with a downstroke, 10th high E with a downstroke. Now that in itself is kind of the real key to making this work. That double downstroke is easier to do at really high speeds, and it just kind of sounds more like Marty. So I would take a second and practice just that if I was you guys. Again, that's up, pull, down, down, up, pull, down, down, up, pull, down, down. Now the first time you play it, it's just a single pull off, but the next time make it a double pull off. So that was me hitting the 14 on the high E with an upstroke, pulling to 10, then doing that again, 14, high E, upstroke, pull a 10, then your double downstroke part, 12th B, 10th E. Okay, so it's single, double, do another double. And that's how the first section of all these arpeggios is going to be played, is with a single pull off, double, and a double. Then you get to the part where the top note changes. And again, this is all up, pull, down, down, up, pull, down, down, up, pull, down, down, up, pull, down, down. Basically what you're gonna do is just to alternate starting from the 15th high E, 14th high E, 15th, 14th. Keep your low notes in the arpeggio the exact same. I'm always pulling to 10, playing the 12th fret B. So the first B minor section sounds like this. Forgot to mention, he kind of slides into that first one a little bit. Then this next section right here is over the G power chord, so he plays G major arpeggios, which is G, B, D. Now basically from the position that you're in, it's kind of gonna feel like you're on that 15th high E string like you were a second ago. Play the 15 on the high E, pull into 10, 12th B, and again double downstroke through there again. Do the same figure you played before. Single pull off, double, double. Again, it's just like the last section, just replacing the top note with the 15 instead. Now this first big stretchy part right here is a total pain in the ass. The high note is going to change to the 17 on the high E. So you're going to play 17, pull into 10, 12th B, 10th high E, 15 on the high E, pull off, double down, 17, pull off, double down, 15, pull off, double down. And again, slow is hard because you're really making those stretches last, you know? Next section is over E, and he makes it sound like E7, which is E, G sharp, B, D, root third, fifth, flat, seventh, if you want to look at it that way. So he's already got his first finger on the D note that he needs, but the G sharp, the third of the chord, can be found up here on 16 on the high E. So again, that's going to be our first section here, is that 16 high E pulling off to 10, 12th fret B string, just like always. It's really just like the high notes change, and that's it through this section. You know the drill, single, double, double. And your high note, low note thing this time is going to be going from 17 to 16. So that section sounds like this. After this is where he goes to F sharp. And this F sharp major arpeggio can be played like this. I'm playing the 18 high E, pulling off to 14. Then I'm gonna be playing the 14th B string, 14th high E. So it's, notice I'm using my first finger to bar those two top notes there. It's the single, double, double pattern again. Single, double, double. And then after this we have an A major arpeggio, which goes over the A chord. This is gonna be the 17 high E pulling off to 12, 14 B. That's your arpeggio. Single, double, double. This time though he doesn't end with the last two strokes like he has been. Instead he's going to hit that 17th fret high E string and really goose that thing up with a big old whole step bend. Whole thing will sound something like this. Really practice that double downstroke thing. It's kind of tricky at first if you're not used to the economy picking deal, but man, once you get up to speed, it really makes a difference. And now let's get on to the OMG WTF lick that seems to really stump everybody. Everybody's transcriptions of this part are different. Live, most of the time if you watch Marty, he doesn't even play this part. He'll hold that last bend that we did up there on that E string. He'll just hold that out and shake it and then catch up with the sliding down part. Most of the time he doesn't play this because it requires the 24th fret. And most of the time these days, most of his guitars that he plays are 22 fret. So if you watch any live videos, he never plays this whole section because you got to have the 24th fret to do it. So keep that in mind. Now, the best thing I can do here is to play this through slowly, and then I'm going to show you guys the isolated recording of Marty's track so you can hear individually everything that's going on in this. It's a total mess. It makes no sense from a rhythmic perspective. Don't be looking at this as like straight 16th notes or anything. It does not fit evenly into any bar of earthly music. Just seriously learn these notes and floor it. It's really hard to play this slowly, but it'll sound something kind of like this. I know what you're thinking, that's way too many notes. And it is. So let's take a look at all the individual phrases that make up that mess. So start off by sliding into your 16G, 15B, 19 on the B, and then he picks this note again before he pulls off to 15. Again, kind of in B minor arpeggio territory. And then you're gonna play the G on 18, and then 16. Again, that's that B minor Hirajoshi kind of sound. Next, play the 15th B, hammer on to 19, pull back up to 15. As you'll hear on the isolated track, there's kind of a pause right there. Then play the 17 on the high E, 19 on the B. Then this. It's kind of an F sharp minor arpeggio if you're going by the shape of it. This is a 21 on the high E pulling off to 17, 19 on the B, 17 on the high E. So now you have this. You kind of got to do a really quick position shift to make that work. Then what you're going to do is slide into the 22 on the B string. You're going to play 19 on the high E, 24 on the high E pulling back off to 19. Okay, so it's 22B, 19 high E, then on the B string play 22 pulling back off to 19. So that last phrase is... That leads you through the really messy part of this. After this we get to the end of the sliding part. This part is really hard to describe. It really is. It's one of those that I'll show you the notes and stuff, but getting it under your hands is another story entirely. And again, played slow, it feels really, really, really weird. This is gonna involve some double upstrokes. That's why this part has that nice, like, aggressive kind of scratchy sound to it. It's because he's very aggressively double upstroking right here. Okay, so coming off of that last lick, we just finished doing a pull off on a 22B to the 19B, right? Hammer back on to 22, same fret on the high E string. Mash your ring finger across both strings here. 22B, pull off to the 19. So that's the main sound you're looking to get here. Slide down to 17 off that last note. Hammer on to 19, same fret on the high E, back to 19 on the B, pull off to 17, slide down to 15. Okay, then you got to hammer on to 17 on the B, same fret on the high E, 17B again, pull off to 15. After that, slide down to 14 on the high E, hammer on 15, same fret on the B. Sometimes I use my ring finger for this, sometimes I use my middle finger, but either way. 15th high E, 15th B, pull off to 14, slide down to 12. Okay, so now you have this. Hammer on 14, same fret on the high E, back to 14B, pull off to 12, slide to 10. Okay, that's a lot of crazy stuff. And then what we're going to do is to play the 12B pulling to 10, then do it again, slide to 8, 10th B pulling to 8, slide to 7, 8th fret B, pull to 7. So it's like, okay, then he plays, okay, 8 on the B, pull to 7, or sorry, 10 on the B, pull to 7, my mistake. 8 on the B, pull to 7, reaching up here to 10th G, back to 7th B, and then on the G we're gonna play. So this is 10, pull to 9, pull to 7, play the 9, pull up to 7. That's the phrase. And again, it makes no sense rhythmically. Just play it as fast as you can and land on this. So this is the 9th G, whole step bend, 7th IE, 10th B, 7th B, and then the 10th B with a whole step bend again. An oddly traditional, normal blues phrase after all that madness, just to show you that he's still sane under all that stuff that he just played. So the whole sliding section sounds like this. One more time. What the heck is going on with that phrase? So let's play through the entire WTF section a few times here and make sure that we're straight on how all that stuff sounds. Then I'll start giving you the broken down individual phrases using the track. One more time. That's the last lick of the solo, and it's pretty much just the same lick moving 3 different positions on the neck. Start off on your G4, hammer to 5, hammer to 7. Play B4, 5, pull back off to 4, then play your 7th G sliding up to 10. Then play the same lick here in the 7th position. So that's going to be G7, hammer to 8, hammer to 10, B7, B8, pull back off to 7, then you're going to hit that 10th G and slide up to about 14. So that puts you where you need to be for the very last time through the lick, which is this. So that's 11th G, hammer to 12, hammer to 14, B 11, 12, pull off to 11, 14th G, back to the 11th B, 12, pull off to 11, 14th G, 11th B, 12, pull off to 11, and then lastly, the 12th B on its own. And it kind of slides off it. So the whole last lick is. And that is the entire solo, weirdness and all. Now, I want to take a second here and show you guys Marty's isolated track from the utter madness part that happens here at the end of the solo to show you what I'm hearing and how I came up with that set of notes. Okay, so let me show you how I ended up where I did. What I've got here is a window of Logic Pro X, and this right here is Marty's isolated solo guitar track, which you can find right here on YouTube. I put it into the DAW, and if I play it, it sounds like this. Now, one really cool thing you can do in Logic is use this function called Vary Speed, which you can use to speed up and slow down audio on anything. And it preserves the pitch and stuff too. Now, this yellow bar that you see on top right here is a loop, which means that wherever it is, if I hit the space bar, it'll just play just that section. And then just start right over. And this is something that I use all the time whenever I'm practicing licks that I've got to learn for a solo or just working on a transcription or something like that. Now, if I put it on that entire crazy section here towards the end of the solo, let me show you what that will sound like. That is just way too many notes to be fitting into just a couple bars of music, right? So a trick I use all the time whenever I'm transcribing is to use this loop feature and make it extremely small. You know, you can see this is just a fraction of a beat's worth. And what I'll do is I'll listen to a lick on repeat like this. And after I figure out what those notes are, I'll move this whole thing over a region. Figure out those notes, move it over a section, and so on. That way I'm not having to learn, you know, like 30 notes in a row or anything like that. I'm breaking it up into smaller bits. Now I want to show you guys what this sounds like compared to my transcription. Okay, so let's hear the first section of that weirdness on loop. It's this lick right here. Now I've moved the loop over to the next section of the lick that sounds like this. Which is how I've ended up so far with. Okay, then we're gonna get into the third part here. Sounds like this. First lick. It's super weird and makes no sense. And like I said, the best thing you can do is just floor it and play those notes as fast as you can. And then too, just to keep this going, I want to show you guys the sliding arpeggio part too. Because again, if you listen on this, you can really hear that lethal double upstroke. Again, keep in mind, it's just 2 upstrokes, a slide, a hammer on. 2 upstrokes, a slide, a hammer on this entire way through. Listen close to the original track, then I'll jump in. No rhythm. It's freaking weird. It's super, super, super weird, but hopefully you guys can hear now with the isolated track slowed down and me playing along with it that appears to be what notes are going on. Good freaking luck. So there you go, guys, a supremely epic 200th episode of Weekend Wankshop. Thank you guys so much. I can't wait to make 200 more videos for you guys to wank along with. I really appreciate you guys tuning into these. You guys have helped me learn so much about music and pay more of my bills than you even know. So thank you guys from the bottom of my cold, dark heart. Let me know what classic riff or solo you'd like to see broken down in future installments of Weekend Wankshop in the comments below. You guys can follow me on Instagram at BenEllerGuitars, my Facebook fan page over at facebook.com/UncleBenEller, and if you're interested in booking some one-on-one Skype lessons with me, be sure to drop me an email, benellerguitars@gmail.com. Now get away from this doggone computer. You've got a whole lot of practicing to do to master this solo.
Less clicking, more picking.